This episode contains material that may be triggering to some individuals. Please check the show notes for more information and be mindful of your own mental health and comfort levels. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you have a unique experience you'd like to share as a guest. Podmatch helps you connect with guests and hosts who have similar interests, experiences, and goals, making sure that each connection is meaningful and impactful. Thanks to Podmatch, I've connected with parents and caregivers worldwide and supported them in sharing their stories on Quiet Connection. If you'd like to check them out, visit www.joinpodmatch.com/Quiet Connection Podcast and learn more. Welcome to Quiet Connection, a podcast dedicated to ending the stigma around postpartum mental health. I'm Chelsea. Today I'm connecting with Casey Urban, a multidisciplinary artist, healer, and mother. Casey shares how returning to her creative roots through performing arts, music, and community has helped her rebuild after some of the darkest seasons of her life. Her story is full of raw honesty, creative triumph, and the beautiful reminder that we are allowed to evolve over and over again. Here's Casey. Hello, today I'm here with Casey. Casey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Chelsea?
I'm doing pretty good. We're recording on a Monday morning, so as good, I always say, as good as I can be on a Monday morning. I'm so excited to chat with you, and I'm so excited to connect with you. And I always say I could go down my list of things that I already know about you, but my listeners want to hear from you. So I'd love it if you could introduce yourself and let us know who you were before you became a mom.
I love that you asked that question. My name is Casey Urban. I am a multidisciplinary artist. I am a healer. And before I was a mom, I was pretty wild and pretty selfish, I would say. And I think that's probably part of the reason why I had such a rough time transitioning into motherhood. It was not this lovey-dovey bubbles and rainbows thing that so many people talk about, you see in the movies. You know, it was quite shocking to say the least. And yeah, I'll just start with that.
The transition was kind of like a whirlwind, kind of like a storm. Yeah, so many of my guests say that. And I love it when people bring up like the bubbles and the sunshine and the rainbows and all that stuff, because like that's the narrative that's pushed on us.
Yeah.
But I think more of us are experiencing that storm than we realize.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. Like, when did your journey into motherhood begin? When and like where and how? All of the things.
Yeah, so I was living right outside of Manhattan. I had been with my then boyfriend for about a year, and we got married, got pregnant very quickly, all the things. I within the span of like a year, we got married, pregnant. I converted to Judaism. My baby was born, and I converted for cultural reasons. We're not religious at all, but my husband's family is Jewish, and he didn't even ask me. It's actually interesting. I went to a Vipassana meditation retreat. I've been teaching yoga since 2008 and meditating off and on throughout the years. And are you familiar with Vipassana at all?
I'm not.
So Vipassana is supposedly the meditation that enlightened the Buddha, and it's been around for quite some time. And they have centers all over the world, actually, that you can go for these 10-day courses, and they are donation based, which is really cool. And so I did a donation based Vipassana course in 2018. And it's so funny because I mean, it's secular, but it's just interesting that I came out of that and I was like, all right, I want to be converted to Judaism because I wanted like a deeper spiritual connection with my husband. My husband was like, what? Um, so yeah, my daughter was born in 2019. Um, and I'll just briefly say that the pregnancy was pretty great. Luckily, I did have some like perinatal mood stuff in the beginning. I was also at the time working as a flight attendant in New York, based out of New York. And I will never forget there was this one time I was in the LA airport. There I don't remember if there was a crew room there or like I didn't know where the crew room was or something, but I just remember the airport was just crawling with people and I was in uniform and I couldn't escape anywhere. And I was just like sitting there at one of the gates, just like sobbing.
Mm.
And I was on the phone with my husband. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like considering maybe going on Zoloft or an SSRI. It was really bad, but luckily I made my way out of that after the first trimester. And then I ended up getting a leave from flying and I was able to teach yoga all over Manhattan. That was great. I was even teaching hot yoga, which is kind of frowned upon for pregnant people, but I've been practicing hot yoga since I was 16 years old. I was originally trained in Bikram yoga. Not a fan of the man, but I am a fan of his of the series. And and my husband really wasn't excited about me doing teaching and practicing hot yoga. My midwife wasn't really excited about me teaching or practicing hot yoga, but I knew in my heart of hearts and my soul, my body, with every ounce of my being, that that's what I needed to be doing. And I knew that since I had been doing it for such a long time, I would be safe, I'd be okay. And my daughter was born, perfectly healthy little girl. And I started feeling pretty sad early on, like in the first couple weeks. And my mom and my best friend were with me. And I said, I think I might have postpartum depression. And they said, no, it's just baby blues. Like, I think you're okay, which can be true. Like, I think it's what is it like if it goes past 2 weeks or
Mhm.
something is when they
Yep.
start to say that it could potentially be postpartum depression or some kind of mood disorder. And I was just really struggling and I didn't actually realize that I had postpartum depression. I didn't actually get diagnosed until I was 7 months postpartum. And it was one of those situations where I'm sure, like, I do know I am familiar with your story and how, unfortunately, practitioners just don't listen
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
And, friends and family, unless they've really been through it, they don't know how to listen. They don't know how to support you. And then there's also that fear of like, they're going to take my baby away. I can't tell them the whole truth. So that's what happened with me. I got diagnosed with, quote, mild postpartum depression, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, mild. Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
it's giving like when I was younger, my earlier years, when I was 21, I got diagnosed with eating disorder not otherwise specified,
Mm.
which I don't know if anyone's listening is familiar with eating disorders of that world, but it was because I was bulimic, but I wasn't purging more than 2 times a week. And so it was like, okay, you're like sick, but not sick enough. And then my
Uh,
disorder was like, well, I'll show you. And then I got worse. So it's giving like that situation. But I went to the doctor and I just didn't want to tell her all the things that I was thinking. I was terrified they were going to take my baby away. So I didn't tell her, I was feeling like I wanted to hurt myself, none of that. And I did get on Zoloft, which helped.
mhm.
And I have been on Zoloft a few other times in my life prior to that, and it did help. But I think the thing that actually helped me the most was getting into pole dancing. Um,
Mm.
I had driven by this pole dancing studio for years in my neighborhood. I've just gone by, and finally I was like, you know what? I need to get back into my body. I've always been an artist. I went to performing arts high school for musical theater and dance. But before that point, or at that point, it had been like 10 years since I really had gotten into art. So, got into pole dancing. Then the pandemic hit. So I got a pole in my house and kept up with it. And that really helped. And I was able to get off my medication. And my daughter was about 2 years old I got pregnant again unexpectedly, and I was just barely crawling out of the throes of postpartum depression. At that time, my husband and I were fighting, and I was just like, there's just no way. There's no way. This is too hard. And I decided to have an abortion. And I ended up having a traumatic experience with the abortion. On the abortion table, the doctor thought that I might have an ectopic pregnancy, which can be fatal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was rushed to the hospital, and to me, it was a perceived near death experience. Obviously, like, looking back on it, maybe I was being a little dramatic, but I don't know. The doctor said, like, you might have an ectopic, like, you need to get to the hospital now. So, and this is
Yeah.
like New York City, Harvard doctor, knows her shit, like, so on the way to the hospital, I told my husband, if I die, please make sure my daughter sees my parents and my friends a lot. I want her around artists. And I also, like, got this sinking feeling in my stomach. I thought I would be devastated if I died without creating a cohesive piece of work, because I am an artist through and through. And I kind of lost that part of myself becoming a flight attendant, moving to New York. I was like, all right, well, I guess I just give up the dream of being an artist. And I love being a flight attendant, but it wasn't, my true calling.
Yeah.
Gosh, like, so I get to the hospital and I tell like 10 different doctors. I had to tell them all my story. Like, I'm sure a lot of people listening here, and I know, have been to the ER, and it's just like, you're having to tell everyone your story. And of course, they couldn't deem it ectopic or not, because it was still so early on in the pregnancy. And I had to wait 48 hours to get the blood test to make sure the hormones were doubling properly, to ensure that I could actually get it. And so I finally was able to get it. And in between, I also have the one doctor who was just a total dick to me. I called his office to make sure that I could just come in and get the blood test. And he, like, brought me into his office and, like, sat me down and was like, I'm not merely a phlebotomist. I need to do a pelvic exam, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sir, I literally called your office to make sure I could just come in to get this blood test. I just need to get this procedure. And finally was able to get it done, but I did have a vagal nerve reaction. My lips turned blue. My whole body poured sweat. It was pretty rough. And the next day I went to a wedding
Oh
because,
my gosh.
yeah, that was back in my extreme people pleaser days. And I though too really and truly thought that, like, that was going to make me feel better, just like being out there. And that was also before I got sober from alcohol. So it was like, alcohol and Oxycontin sounds fun. Yay. Because that's what they give you. Or they gave me Percocet. I don't know, something strong for the abortion. Which obviously don't ever mix those. If you're listening to that, that is like, just no.
Hindsight.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
please. No, no, no. Somehow I made it through that. I just remember it being like a blur. I remember just being like, it's just so weird. And then I didn't really actually get to rest and like spend a day in bed until the Monday after the wedding. And that was, I don't, like, I still struggle with rest. I'm a lot better now, but just my whole life, I've just worked really hard. I've always been into a lot of things. And so I don't really, it's hard for me to just like spend time, like a full day in bed, unless I'm like really, really sick. So I that was the first day I allowed myself to truly rest. And I was listening to all of these little voice recordings that I had made over the years of songs that I had written, because I have always been musical. I started writing songs when I was 19, but never really was super serious about it. I recorded a couple of things here and there with friends. And when I was living in Austin, I tried to play music live, because Austin's like the live music capital of the world. But
Yeah.
it was so painful for me to play my own music. It was too hard. So, anyways, I sat down and I was just listening to these voice recordings, and I was like, damn, like, I think I have a record here. Like, some of these are actually pretty good, which was shocking for me to feel that way because I'm just really critical of myself. And I mean, like I said, I'm better now at that too. But so I called a friend, a trusted friend who actually went to performing arts high school with me as well. And I asked him that weekend, I think we sat down. I was like, hey, will you listen to these songs and just let me know what you think? Like, do you think they're good enough to record? He's like, yeah, like these are really good. And he's the type that wouldn't just, you know, pump my tires. Like he's
Yeah.
an honest person. And so again, it was still during COVID, so I wasn't flying, but I still had my benefits. So I was able to go to Austin and record a record with my dear friend and just heal from the abortion and the postpartum and really heal from the whole process. And it was just a beautiful experience. And through that, I just was writing music more and working with pole. I actually ended up teaching pole. I ended up competing both semi-professionally and professionally in pole and winning.
Wow.
I ended up dancing with Snoop Dogg on
Whoa.
tour in Arizona. Yeah. Yeah. It's, sometimes these traumatic experiences, like sometimes the things that break us make us,
Hmm.
you know? Um, and I'm just so grateful that for whatever reason, I've always been a fighter and I've always my whole life struggled with anxiety, depression, eating disorders, but and even alcoholism. I've been sober from alcohol for a few years now. Um, but I just keep getting up and fighting. And yeah, so
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot
yeah.
condensed into, but it almost like perfectly coincides with what you were saying of your experience of motherhood. Like, it's just this storm of
Yeah.
like one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious how, and it's like going to be hard to pick it apart, but like how each of those things impacted your view of yourself as a mother. So like
Mhm.
becoming a mother was one thing,
Mhm.
and like you said, like your pregnancy was okay and you were able to do your yoga and
Yep.
um healthy baby, which again, healthy baby is one thing, but we want healthy mom, mind and body as well. um and it sounds like you weren't getting that validation and that support that you needed when you needed it the most.
Yep.
I'm so curious about like what you said. Again, you tried medication, and
Mhm.
sometimes medication is for some people and it works. And but doing pole dancing is what pulled you out of it, and I love that so much because it's not like the thing like you hear moms do. Well, like take walks with your friends or like meet up for coffee. It's like, why don't you actually look inside yourself and see what you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you really want to do? And you
Right.
had always wanted to do that. Talk to me about that. Like, how did you start to notice changes once you started pouring into your own cup?
Yeah. That's a great question. I do also have to say that microdosing and macrodosing psilocybin has also been a huge help for my mental health and is now something that I am able to help people with and friends and family. I did open a coaching business last year where I was serving medicine, and then I decided this year just to bring it into my inner circle of friends and family to deepen that practice, to learn how my Celtic and Druid ancestors worked with this medicine and just really get a strong foundation before going back out into the world with it, because it is not Mickey Mouse healing. It is a serious medicine.
Yeah.
And you'll see this psychedelic quote unquote renaissance booming and booming and booming and booming. It's happening right before our eyes, and yet it's continuing to unfortunately benefit mostly um, the people in power already. Big pharma is
Yes.
starting to invest in it. I mean, it's just like it's wild that it's happening, and unfortunately with little to no reciprocity to the cultures that made this medicine. popular. So yeah, I have to give credit to that. About 9 months after my abortion, in 2021, my husband and I did a journey together with a guide, a remote guide. Like we rented a little space upstate New York, and very safe, and made sure we took all the precautions. He had never done it before, actually. I had been experimenting off and on since I was like 15. So it was really special for us to do that together. And I asked the medicine to help me heal from my postpartum depression and from the abortion. And what I received was that and so much more. I had this moment where I felt all the love from all the mothers that have ever existed, and all the love from all the mothers that will ever exist, just loving on me. It was as if they were saying, the responsibility to create life is a mighty one. You are still worthy of love. You are still worthy of happiness. You are still worthy of peace. Um, and it was just this powerful message that reverberated through my entire being. And I almost feel like it just reverberated from into my ancestors and my future generations. It was just this beautiful, beautiful moment that shook me to my core. And that from that experience, the seeds from my one woman show were planted. And I wrote a one woman show about this whole experience with the abortion. And I performed it in 2023 in New York. And I'm really proud of myself because also this transition into claiming my space as a multidisciplinary artist, in that time, it was really hard for me to get up on stage. I was struggling with suicidal ideation. I was struggling with worthiness. Like, who am I to be performing? I'm a mom. Like, it was just all of these complicated things. And
Yeah.
so I produced the entire show myself. I did get crowdfunding, which is amazing. If anyone's listening to this that donated for the show, thank you so much. And then I actually donated the proceeds to the Lilith Fund, which is a fund in Texas that helps folks gain safe access to abortion
Uh-huh.
because it's not legal in my state currently. Which that's a whole nother thing, but
I know. It's a whole other podcast.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But so that was just so powerful. And then just to start to study this medicine, and I worked with my mentor for 5 months and learn about it and read about it and obsessively learn. I'm like, once I get interested in something, I just obsessively learn about it. And yeah, it's been a journey. And yeah, this is actually the first podcast I'm talking about it openly. Like, I actually, I'm still kind of like, I'm kind of out, but I'm kind of not out online. I call myself
Yeah.
like a portal witch, and I call it
Yeah.
portal magic. I just have to be obviously mindful of my family, and there's still this huge stigma, but obviously there is a time and a place for pharmaceuticals. I'm not saying like, you know, don't ever take anything, or if you break your arm, obviously you're going to have to go to the hospital. But
Yeah.
I do think that when we can go to the earth for healing, when we can, it's so powerful, and it's also sustainable.
Uh-huh.
And more and more, I'm looking to the earth for healing. And it's actually one of the reasons why we moved out here to Virginia from New York in this last summer. And it's so funny. I was thinking it was going to be this huge like grieving process of like grieving the city, and like my artist heart was going to be torn out of my chest, and I was like so dramatic thinking about it. And then I honestly, like, God, I love New York, but I don't miss it at all.
No.
Just the exchange of a regulated nervous system. I'm looking out at my beautiful backyard, being able to put my feet in the grass every day, being able to I mean, gosh, my daughter, there's like 10 or 15 neighborhood kids, they run around like the 90s, you know,
Oh, I
it's
love
wild. Like
that.
I was thinking I should get a dinner bell, you know, to call her in at night. It's so magical and powerful. And it's been hard, I'm not gonna lie, you know, it's been hard, you know, trying to find friends and community as an adult. All of that is a little can be a little crunchy, but we're working through that. We're getting there, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I love about hearing you talk about all of this is that we're not looking at it, and you're not looking at it through one lens. Like this journey, we're not looking at it through like, okay, I became a mom and this is how my life changed. It's all of these things intertwined, which is so important for us to remember because you are a person, you are an artist, you are a creator, you are a mother, you are Casey. Like
Yeah.
you are so many things,
Yeah.
and in the journey of walking into motherhood, you also walked these other paths as well. And I think a lot of the time when we become parents, we deny ourselves of exploring those other paths.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love hearing about all of these other sides of you and how they all intertwined. Like total side note, like microdosing and that whole culture is something that I'm so interested in and to learn more about. It's not something that I can personally do myself for health reasons
Yeah.
that are beyond my control.
Yeah.
But just like you said, like I'm so super interested in like going back to the earth and natural remedies and things that have been working for centuries and that
Mhm.
our grandmothers and great grandmothers and great great grandmothers were all like
Yes.
knew about. So I love that. I love that. And I want to learn more about it. But that's also my brain. Like
Mhm.
when I hear about something, I want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Um, I also love hearing about just your authenticity and like
Oh, thank
talking
you.
about how you're listening to your voice notes and being like, this feels weird to feel good about this. Like that resonates with me too,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Um, And I think it's so cool, though, that you made those choices to invest in yourself. You made those choices to make that album. You made those choices to put on that production. And it wasn't easy and it probably wasn't always comfortable, but you still did it. And
Mhm.
you can say that you did it. And that's
Mhm.
really, really cool. How did your relationship with your child evolve through your evolutions?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really great question. Um, it's interesting because, you know, like I said, I was a flight attendant, and when she was younger, and I, you know, was an artist and doing so much, and it's like there were times where I'm like, should I be feeling guilty? Because like I didn't actually. I have it like maybe like I have maybe like post maternal guilt from looking back at
Mm.
that time. I'm like, maybe I was doing too much, but at the time I really felt in my bones, I was like, you know what, like I would much rather pursue my dreams and see my daughter have my daughter see me pursue my dreams, my daughters, because I also have a bonus daughter,
Mhm.
um you know, see me pursue my dreams than not, and then be like kind of resentful towards my family and feeling like, oh, I'm an artist but I never really got to try, you know. Because that is, oof, like that resentful energy that unfulfilled mothers get is rough. And that is one of the main reasons why I am feeling called to start working with artist mothers. Like I love pumping artist mothers up and saying like, yes, it's fucking hard, it's so scary, but you can do it. So yeah, I mean, I think, and I've talked to, you know, my youngest, it's like a little harder because, you know, she's just 6. Like it's, you know, it's
Yeah.
harder to talk about these things. But my older bonus daughter, I've talked to her about it before. You know, I've said like, do you wish that sometimes I wasn't a flight attendant and an artist, and do you wish that I wasn't doing all those things, like, because I just want to make sure that I'm also here with y'all, and that like you really know that I'm I love you and I'm always here if you need me. And she said no. Like I think it's inspiring, you know. And who
Mm.
knows, like maybe she has mixed feelings about that and she was afraid to tell me, or, I'm just being honest, like, who knows? But I ultimately, I do think that it was and is the right choice to continue to pursue my dreams. And now that we've moved out here, I'm spending much, much, much more time with them, which has been really cool. But there was a good 1, 2, 3 years where I was polling a lot. I mean, I went from like zero pole experience to pro in just like a few years. So I was doing it a lot, but again, I don't know, it enriched me so much. It made me a better mom, it really
Yeah.
did, because I was happier and more fulfilled. And, like I said, I will admit that, like, now looking back on that time, because, my daughter was so young, I'm thinking like, oh, like maybe I should have tried to balance it a little more, but and so I do have a little bit of that mom guilt, but ultimately I know in my bones that I made the right decision. And especially because that gave me the artistic foundation to be where I am now. My one woman show got accepted into Fringe Festival in Iceland. I'm
Oh my
being
gosh.
internationally recognized for my art, which is like I never, I don't think my little inner child even saw that as a possibility. My dream was always to go and be on Broadway, but like to write my own shit and perform it,
Yeah.
and then have it be internationally recognized. Like, I don't think my little inner child even knew that was possible. So hopefully when my daughters grow up, that will inspire them to really know that they can chase their dreams and go for whatever they want to do, and while having a family if they want.
Yeah. There's so many things that you tapped into there that are taboo, but also should not be.
Yeah,
And I love it. I love when I get to talk about these kind of things because I understand like that guilt and that shame of looking back like, oh, should I have done this differently or should I have done this differently? But really, like, just like we said before, you're not one thing.
yeah,
You're not just somebody's mom. You are so many things. And I love that you're viewing it as showing your daughters that you can be all of these things. So you've talked too about how all of these evolutions played into your creative process too, and especially the abortion and the trauma that accompanied that. Did you have any sort of strong support system through that, or were you really relying on your creative outlets and just yourself to
that's a great
see you through that?
question. And I kind of feel bad. I haven't talked about my husband much before this, but he is like my biggest supporter and biggest fan, and just an incredible man. And in our own journeys together with psilocybin early on, he was shown that he really needs to kind of support me and my art and just like let me kind of do my thing. And I think I'm just so grateful for that. I think that's so beautiful. And he's always encouraged me, and it gives me confidence too, because he's a realist. He lived outside of New York. He grew up outside of New York City. He's a Jersey boy through and through. If I wasn't talented, I don't think he would be. I don't think he would be encouraging me to really chase my dreams and go for it. So he has just been a huge supporter, and we have had our fights, we've had our troubles, but right now we're just in just such a beautiful place, better than ever. So definitely he's my rock, my number one. My parents have always been supportive of my art. I have great friends. So grateful for them. It has been hard. Most of my closest friends live like scattered all over the country.
Mhm.
But I am so grateful for that. And now, since I've been getting into medicine work, I have a very strong group of medicine people that I connect with and talk to on a daily basis. So yeah, I will say though, again, going back to like that people pleaser, my old people pleaser ways, back when I had postpartum, it's like, yeah, I could blame people like, oh, you didn't show up for me, this and that. But I didn't know how to advocate for myself, quite honestly. And I do take responsibility for that. I looking back, had I known, had I even a glimpse of what it was going to be like, I could have said, okay, I need this person to have a meal train for a month. I need then, you to come for like a month. And then, because my husband actually got fired when I was 7 months pregnant.
Mm.
And he didn't get another job until a week or so before I gave birth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so, he had a week of paternity leave and that was it. And my mom came for like 2.5 weeks. And God, I just like wept when she left because she was like right there, so grateful that she was helpful. But then I was pretty much alone by myself for like the first 3 months, because my husband was going into Manhattan. He'd be gone like 7 to 7. And I'm sure anyone listening to this that has experienced that is just the weirdest, most difficult time warp that you can be in. And I think that's a big reason that I had postpartum is I just was so alone in those times. It didn't have support. But yeah, ultimately I have a lot of great support. I just, in the beginning, when I first had my daughter, I didn't know how to advocate for myself like I said, I didn't really realize that I had postpartum until I was like 7 months postpartum.
Yeah.
So it was one of those where I'm sure, again, like you can understand this and people listening, it's like where you're kind of fighting yourself, like, oh, I'm okay. And then it's like, no, I'm really not okay. It's like, oh, but other people have it so much worse. Like you're so privileged, like, just like this like internal battle is so challenging. Whereas like maybe week or month 2, if I would have just said, hey, I need help, then I think it would have been different. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that speaks to, even if you do have a support system, um, we're promised a village.
Mhm.
Um, the village doesn't exist.
Yeah,
It did in the
right.
past, and it does in other cultures, but it does not exist in current US culture. And we do unfortunately have to learn to advocate for ourselves, which is powerful when
Yeah.
you do find that voice.
Mhm.
But like you said, like, and I don't think anyone is to blame, including yourself, but
Mhm.
like not knowing how to advocate and not knowing, and you had mentioned earlier, fear. You didn't know what would happen if you
Mhm.
said how you felt. Like the village that we're promised
Mhm.
needs to exist.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm actually just now getting a taste of that. It's like, gosh, living in this community, this neighborhood that I live in, I'm so grateful. My neighbor, shout out to my neighbor, she's such a badass. She has 7 kids
Oh my gosh.
um that are living with her, and she has one other child that lives outside the house. But she they you know I'm just in awe of her. And like, so my kids will like go play with them, and then we'll vice versa. And some of her kids will come over and they'll play in the backyard. And, I brought her some broth the other day when she was sick. She brought me a flower yesterday and some banana bread the other day. Like since I've moved down south, people have brought me food like 3 or 4 times. And
Food is a love language down south. I know
yes,
that for a fact. Yeah.
yes. And then, and I grew up in Texas, so like I knew that, but I also grew up with parents who train horses and we lived kind of far from anyone else. So it's like different vibe. But it's just been so refreshing to have that and just to be able to trust that my kid could go play out in the cul-de-sac and, for hours and be safe. And I could just kind of peek in on her, or go knock on the door of whoever she's playing with just to check in, like, hey, are you okay? But like, or text the mom. But like, oh man, it is just like, it completely, I'm like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And like recognizing the power and strength that even without that village, you still found ways to tap into yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Like I just want to acknowledge that, because yeah, and you've said it over and over again, like wasn't easy. It was a roller coaster. It was a bit of a
Mhm.
storm,
Mhm.
but you chose and you kept choosing to tap into you. And that's really, really powerful. That's super powerful. It's something that I am still learning.
Mhm.
Um, it and And that village that you talk about too, that like you're just now getting to sort of experience it. My hope is that more parents sort of like with this big push around maternal mental health being talked about more, that maybe it will become a little more normalized. You're
Here's hope.
right. Double cross fingers,
Yeah.
cross toes. Um, because it makes a huge difference. It makes
Yeah.
a huge difference in your ability to be present for your kids, to be present for yourself. And all I'm doing is just reiterating like what I'm seeing and hearing from you.
Aw.
Like these are not like prophetic thoughts from my like I'm not like pulling them out of my like I'm hearing you tell your story and I'm
Thank you.
acknowledging and validating how fucking hard it's been, but also sharing in your joy and peace that you're finding now,
Yeah.
which to listeners, like there is always another side. There's always another side. Something that I learned, and it's ironic, like you brought up um, Buddha and Buddhist
Mm-hmm.
teachings
Mm-hmm.
earlier. My mother-in-law has gone on a deep dive into the like Buddhism and the Dalai Lama and all of these things. We don't know where she got any of it from, but whatever, she's all into it. And she was talking to me about this sort of philosophy, I guess, of that
Mm-hmm.
nothing in life is permanent.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
So like pain is not permanent,
Yep.
but joy is not permanent either.
Yep.
And so to be like fully present in all of it
Mm-hmm.
and through the whole journey. And it really feels like that's what you've been doing. Like whether you wanted to or whether you intentionally did it or not, like you have remained true to your core and true to what matters to you while also becoming this version of Casey that we see today. And the Casey that we see today is not going to be the Casey that like if I talk to you a year from now, it's going to be a totally different Casey.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Like and
Yeah.
and I think that's really important for moms to hear. Moms and
Oh,
parents.
yeah. That concept of impermanence is key. And I appreciate you saying all those kind words. And I definitely kicked and screamed a lot of it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I was like this Zen little mama. Like,
No.
no, 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 quite the opposite. And, but I think, especially for new mothers, struggling with that, those early months, it's like, you have to just remember that it is, well, everything is impermanent, and especially those times. I'm not gonna say like enjoy every minute because that is fucking
No.
bullshit. I hate that.
I
Like,
hate that as
don't
well.
listen to that. But just more of like, know that like this too shall pass, and it
Yes.
will. And also I think it's inspiring to remind new moms too. It's like, I didn't even try pole until after I had my daughter, and I didn't even really commit and to art and claim myself as an artist until after I have my daughter. And 6 years later, I have all of these beautiful shows that I've produced in New York. I did my one woman, but I also produced shows with multiple people, with multiple musicians and burlesque dancers. And I danced professionally in the city, like really cool different shows, and competed. And I just, there's so much. And not to say that everyone's going to be like that and do all the crazy things that I did, but it can help you tap into this deep wellspring of creativity and trust and ingenuity that can change your life. Um,
Mhm.
in that pain, in that just broken down, defeated parts, there is opportunity to transmute that into power. And I think it's through community. I think being able to talk with people about your story, like Chelsea, I'm so grateful to be here today. And listening to your podcast before, I was like, ooh, this is going to be good. Like, Chelsea's the shit. Like, this is going to be cool. Yeah, because you're just so down to earth and authentic yourself, and kind, and just warm and loving. And
I
my hope is
appreciate
that,
that.
yeah, I mean that. And gosh, your story, I was reading some of it earlier. It's just like so powerful. I'm just so grateful that you we're able to overcome and then create this beautiful space that is creating community, not just for the people you're talking with, but obviously all the listeners as well. And community is what my next chapter I want to lean more into. My dream is to have a brick and mortar space for artist mothers and creative mothers that just loves on them and gives them a space to create. I'd love to even have childcare, maybe a little coffee shop. That's like a dream of mine.
I want to see that happen.
Yeah.
I want to see that happen.
I need to. That's why I chose the bookshelf, because I was like, oh, I'd love it to like have a little library in the back, and it's so important. And so many moms, I think, just kind of, they become mothers and then they're like, all right, well, this is it, like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna, keep on with my job and my motherhood. And they like mother artists or people that were artists before, they just, and then they quit making art. And then it's like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so important. And it doesn't have to be professionally. It can be just for yourself. It can be one line of a poem every day. It can be one scribble, on the paper. But when we tap into that wellspring, it naturally brings joy. It naturally releases the pressure valve of darkness, that we feel sometimes just from the pressures of society and just the times and everything. It's just like this one beautiful solace to find your artistic path. And so yeah, I hope that, I'm really hoping that will work.
Yeah.
I did start a meetup. It's RVA Artsy Moms. So if you're in RVA, I have like 12 people.
Hey, that's awesome though.
Yeah. I haven't actually done one yet. I scheduled an online meetup, but nobody came. That's okay.
That's okay.
But I did talk to my librarian. I can rent a room for free. And actually just recently got a library card. I'm embarrassed to admit it took me like 6 months to get one of living here.
Oh my
But
God, it's okay.
it's magical.
Isn't it? I lost my library card for like 6 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah, like I had
Okay,
one
that
when
makes
my
me feel
first was
better.
yes, and it was gone. And then literally, I'm not even kidding you, literally 2 weeks ago, I went to the library and I was like, I just need to get a library card again. Having a library card, especially right now, super powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Super important.
It's like magic. Like
It is.
I got some books and I was like, this is free? Cool. Like, this is just part of,
And then you can get
$5, I
Libby, you can
guess.
get the Libby app, and you can
Yeah.
get so you can like get books on your
Audiobooks
Kindle, audiobooks. Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's another podcast, libraries and the power of
Yes.
libraries.
Yes. And I don't know if you've seen like all these cute librarians making all this content. Oh my God, they're so creative and funny. I'm just like rolling over. Like, it's just been really cool seeing all of that pop up on my feed lately.
Yeah, it's so cool. And like what I want to reiterate too is like, so for you, Casey, and for some moms and for like creatives, like I consider myself a creative as well. Like that outlet could be poetry, it could be painting, it could be literally coloring with your kids. It could, but like if that's not your vibe, like just follow your vibe. Like if you are super into cooking, like take a cooking class or teach a cooking class.
Yeah.
Or for some moms, leaning into motherhood really is where they find their joy.
Absolutely.
So lean into that too. But like
absolutely.
Just I think that you're right. There is this culture created where birthing people are losing themselves to parenthood, and it doesn't have to be that way. Speaking with you, like hearing you say this over and over again, I've got to connect you with, if you don't already know who she is, a mom that I also met through doing this. Her name is Heidi Fiedler.
Okay.
And she is a writer and like editor, and she has this whole thing. It's a project that she does. I think it's called Moms Who Make.
Okay, I think I've heard of that. Yeah, but I'd love to be in connection with them. Yeah, for sure.
Like because that's her whole goal too, is getting moms to tap into that creative part of themselves that they may have laid dormant in motherhood.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap us back around because I could talk to you all day.
I
I mean,
know,
I
same.
really could. I these are my favorite kind of sessions, is where
Yeah,
I like super vibe. But yeah, so again, like, I know I'm doing a lot of the talking and I'm repeating a lot of the same things that you've been
it's
saying,
okay.
but what I have enjoyed so much about you sharing your story is that it's not been 100% focused on Casey as a mom.
Mhm,
And it has been very much a big picture
mhm.
of just your journey as you. And that journey, like, I'm seeing it as a tree, and it's got all of these branches, and all of the branches are blooming in different ways. Like, it's not a real tree. It's it's a magic tree. But like, God, I'm remembering that YouTube video from my elder millennial is showing. Okay, anyway, but like, there are so many sides to you and so many facets to you and so many journeys that you are continuing and have been on, but you being vulnerable and sharing all of those parts is a superpower, and it allows other people to feel safe in sharing their stories.
Aw,
It's true.
thank
So
you.
I appreciate your openness. I appreciate your just ability to be authentically you. And I appreciate you sharing some of your Monday morning with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been beautiful, and
Ugh.
I'm just grateful that you do this. More people need to do this work. You know, Mom's stories need to be heard, and um, it's it's super easy to talk to you. I
Oh,
feel safe.
good. I'm so
Yeah,
glad.
yeah,
That's always
and
my goal. There's
yeah,
no judgment here. There's
yeah.
no judgment. There's no criticism. There is no unsolicited advice. Those are like my three pillars.
Yeah.
Like, that you're not
Mhm.
going to find that here.
Yeah. I love that.
Um, yeah. Casey, where, because I know I'm going to be following along, and I really want to see this center that you're talking about like open. But
Yeah.
if my listeners want to follow along in your journey and learn more about you, where is the best place that they can do that?
They can follow me on Instagram at Casey Urban, CASEYURB as in boy AN, or my Substack, The Portal Muse. And I also have a website, caseyurban.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there as well. So yeah.
I love it. It'll all be in the show notes, so you can check those out. But, some people don't check the show notes. You spend all that time writing them. But anyway, thank you so much, Casey. And I am really excited to continue following your journey.
Hey, thank you so much. And I just wanted to end with one little quote actually from my daughter, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So we over the past few months or so, it was her idea. She just wanted to start recording songs like before we go to sleep on my phone, just like on the audio notes or whatever. And so
Yeah.
she'll just write these songs. It's kind of cool. It's actually like the way I write. It's just kind of like a lot of it's like stream of consciousness, and she'll just sing, and like whatever comes through comes through. And she wrote this song the other day where it had the line "creativity is a choice." I was just like, like,
Oh.
yeah, I was like, "Okay, little baby Buddha," like, cool,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to share that, and it's not I feel like it's not like a judgy way or anything, because it just came from my daughter, just pure-hearted, like, it's just truth, creativity is a
Yeah.
choice, and when we make that choice, like Dolly Parton, the great spiritual leader said,
Ugh. Love Dolly.
like Dolly Parton said, energy begets energy. So the more you create, the more you want to create. And so if you make that choice every day in a small way, it just builds and builds and builds.
I'm so grateful to you, Casey, for sharing your story so openly and vulnerably. If Casey's journey resonated with you, be sure to check the show notes for links to her music, Substack, and more. And if today's episode reminded you that healing is messy, nonlinear, and creative, well, you can just take solace in the fact that you are not alone. You can keep up with us on Quiet Connection by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Rednote, YouTube, and Threads at Quiet Connection Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky at Quiet Connection Pod. You can help our community grow by leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and consider sharing our episodes on social media. Be sure to check out our Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee accounts to support our mission and get exclusive access to bonus content and other goodies. To share your journey, you can contact us through our website at quietconnectionpodcast.com or by email at quietconnectionppmh@gmail.com. Join us next time when another story is told and you realize you are not alone. I see you. Motherhood's messiest moments, we're airing them out.
Odd Moms on Call is the podcast where a no BS mom squad tackles parenting, politics, and everything in between.
It's like venting to your besties, but with mics.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Buzzsprout and grab a seat at the table.